Hi, my name is Jazz McMyers, and for this summer, I did research on the effect of media and news on vaccine-related decision making. This was something I thought of before the pandemic, but with the whole turn of events, I decided to focus my research on COVID-related vaccines and how people perceive these vaccines based on safety, effectiveness, efficacy, and a whole variety of factors. For my research, I planned to submit a survey out to students, faculty, and staff and gather their backgrounds with vaccines, whether they've been vaccinated, whether their families believe in vaccination, religious preferences, and stuff like that, and then expose them to media sources on vaccines. So I had like 2 news articles that I intend to present them with, and then randomly assign them to either group that reads it, doesn't read it, or reads a positive version, reads a negative version, or doesn't read it at all, and then just to see how that affects their feelings about whether or not they'd be willing to receive the vaccine either in the near future or later on in the future. Unfortunately, I've been a little bogged down with the IRB approval process, and I have been going back and forth with them just to get that approved. So I haven't been able to submit my survey and to collect those results yet. But I do believe that I have like a good idea just based on like my research of what is going to be expected in terms of results. So I do expect that a lot of people feel very hesitant about receiving vaccinations, especially for COVID. I look about receiving COVID vaccinations just because a lot of it's being rushed, and when it's being rushed, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going through all the safety precautions that it needs to go through, and that makes people feel uneasy and people feel unsafe. And while I think there's going to be a mediation factor based on the fact that people who feel like COVID is not that big of a deal may be more likely to not be as worried about those factors, they also may be more likely to not be interested in vaccinations. So there's like a lot of different factors that have to go into it. I feel like through my research, I understand that elderly populations might feel more hesitant just because they are particularly at risk for adverse reactions, even though the fact that a vaccine would help them because they are particularly at risk for adverse reactions for COVID. Parents might not feel like they want to subject their children to it unless it's thoroughly tested. There are a lot of different companies that are going through testing and going through the process of trying to get it approved. And it can, from what I've talked with people, can seem like a bit of a race, and that there are corners being cut in hopes of it ending this pandemic. And while it is very important to get like life back on track, it is also very important that no one has adverse reactions or negative effects just because things are being rushed. So, I think my survey is going to, and my research is going to point to those feelings that people have and help understand that people from like different backgrounds are probably going to have the same, or not the same, but a similar response to vaccinations. And as soon as I get that approval from the IRB, I will be able to move forward with my research. And until then, I will keep reading articles, keep using news sources, keep reading databases, and keep building up my understanding of vaccinations and the community mindsets on vaccinations. And it is very important to understand how people feel about it, because the only way for a vaccine to be effective is if most people are likely to take it, which will give us herd immunity and make those who either can't take it or won't take it not at risk. And if we don't have a certain threshold for that, then there is no way for a vaccine to be effective. So we do have to make sure we hit as many populations as possible and make sure that they feel like this is safe and that they are willing to receive it. So that makes my research all the more important, because understanding those mindsets, understanding the factors that go into the decision-making process in terms of going for vaccines or trusting the doctors who are vaccinating you, all those things are really impact whether or not you're going to be able or willing to be vaccinated. And if we understand that, then we can understand how best to market vaccines and how best to make them safe so that people do receive them, and that we can overcome what we're currently going through. Thank you.